Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Folks, thank you so much for coming this morning. We just want to encourage everybody to please help themselves to the food. It smells delicious. We think it tastes delicious. Please help yourself to the food, okay? Thank you.
What do you think? It's super late. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. Sure. Oh, thank you. Uh, what tried Deedly? Is that? I hope that chart was not literally butchered. You know, I mean, we're fine. One, two, one, two, three, four. All right, we're going to a moment. Nice, man. You know, I do. Thank you. Did you catch what is the contract background with that?
Excuse me, everyone. Good morning again and welcome. We're going to try to get started here with our formal program in just a couple of minutes. So if you have not already gotten food, please help yourselves to some food right now. And we'll get started again in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We've been gifted with some beautiful fall colors and some nice weather. I want to thank everyone for making time to join us on this wonderful celebration. My name is Sherwood Smith. I use he, him pronouns. I'm Senior Executive Director in the Office of the Vice Provost for Inclusive Excellence and Faculty Engagement. And I have the pleasure and honor of welcoming you to this event. I would like to start our event off with a land acknowledgement. The University of Vermont is located on lands and waters which are the ancestral homes of Indigenous people for thousands of years. They have been meeting places for exchange for Indigenous people throughout history. Specifically, in our neighborhood, this is the Western Abenaki people. UVM seeks to honor, recognize, and affirm and respect these people, especially the Abenaki, as the traditional and enduring stewards of the lands and waters here. With that intention, we offer this land acknowledgement as a beginning. The University of Vermont and many of the university community are guests on these lands and waters. The institution's role as a guest is to respect the waters and lands in which we are in our use, to honor the Indigenous people's knowledge, histories, traditions, both past and present, on this land and within our community. And while land acknowledgements are only a beginning step, it is a process that we hope to lead in continue in recognizing the legacies of trauma and success and perseverance by Indigenous peoples here and throughout the world. Thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing a colleague, a friend, and a leader here. Dr. Amir Ahmed, who uses he, him pronouns in English, is the University of Vermont's Vice Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Dr. Ahmed is a national recognized leader in the work around DEI, both here at UVM and across the nation. As a DEI practitioner, he advances inclusive excellence at our institution and helps build our capacity as an institution and also nationally to do DEI work. Dr. Ahmed was collaborative in his approach and is a strategic leader in creating initiatives and transforming cultures, both at universities and at private and public organizations. Dr. Ahmed has been a faculty member and also held leadership positions in higher ed at institutions like the University of Massachusetts and the University of Michigan. One of the things that has brought him to this esteemed position in work is his ability to interact at the intersections between what I refer to as domestic diversity and intercultural communications. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you all for being here. It's really an honor to have you all here today. Some of you were here last year, and what a difference a year makes. It's we've all been through trying times in the last few years, and it's just such a joy to have you all here today at the Andrew Harris reception. Andrew Harris was the first African American student and graduate of the University of Vermont, and so this reception is a way to celebrate that very important legacy. In addition, today, we are going to be celebrating a more modern legacy of Dr. Larry McCrory, whose 27 years of trailblazing service had a tremendous impact on the University of Vermont. Many of you, I observed, saw the display case here on the fourth floor of the Davis Center. And part of his legacy will be featured in that display case throughout this academic year. So I encourage you to encourage others to learn more about his legacy if they happen to be coming to the Davis Center over the course of this academic year. Another aspect of this important program is Dr. McCrory's spouse, Virginia Hood, and daughter, Leslie McCrory Wells, who chose to create an endowment in his name to advance a number of his interests, including his passion and commitment to advance diversity, equity, inclusion at University of Vermont. You will note that there are pieces of paper at your table with a QR code that informs you about this endowment and its relationship to this event. We want to encourage anybody and everybody who's interested in contributing towards that endowment to do so either today or at a time of your convenience. There's been a lot of intentionality around this program, and I want to thank the Office of the Vice Provost for DEI's team, our lead program organizer, Sandy Bermazan, also Paul Yoon, Sherwood, Krista Walter, Jean Nauheimer, Masha. This is a team that I feel very honored to be working with. And as part of that intentionality today, the food that you are eating is the food that Larry loved. And so that, and the music that you're listening to include his friends who he played jazz music with. In addition, as educators, we are so excited about the fact that the food was prepared by our students who started a pop-up restaurant called Soul Brew. Oh, there you are in the back. Yeah, they're waving in the back. Let's thank them for this wonderful food. And they worked with Leslie McCrory Wells on gained some of her wisdom and knowledge, because as many of you know, Leslie is a well-known and respected restaurateur. So they got to learn from a pro who also happens to be the daughter of Dr. Larry McCrory. So there's just a beautiful synergy to all of this. I want to acknowledge the senior leaders who are here today. Thank you so much. If you could either raise your hand or stand up, those of you who aren't going to be speaking. So Dr. Noma Anderson, I know, is here. Dean Anderson, who's also part of Dr. McCrory's legacy as the Dean of Nursing Health Science. Alex Yin, our Head of Institutional Research, is here. Our General Counsel, Trent, is here. So we're just so thankful and honored that you all have taken the time to be here on a Sunday morning. I see Erica Calero, our Head of Student Affairs. Thank you for being here. I know Jay Jacobs is here, and Simeon Ananu is here. So thank you all for being here. In addition, I want to acknowledge the Identity Center staff that work hard with our students in the Division of DEI, in the Mosaic Center for Students of Color, the Women and Gender Equity Center, the PRISM Center, and the Interfaith Center. If you all could just raise your hands to be acknowledged for all the great work. And just so you all know, we just celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Women and Gender Equity Center. It's actually the 31st anniversary, but I want to thank Melissa Murray for your hard work in that celebration. So we are honored to have some esteemed speakers today, and I have the honor of introducing UVM's current president. I do need to also acknowledge a former president that is here. President Tom Sullivan, could you stand or at least raise your hand? There he is in the back. Thank you so much for being here. Really an honor to have you here. Our current president, Dr. Suresh Garimella, is the 27th president of University of Vermont. He is a professor of mechanical engineering with a distinguished record of research accomplishments and a passion for mentoring students. As president, he leads UVM with an emphasis on access and affordability for our students, and an unwavering belief in the transformative power of education and research, and his strong advocacy for the university's land-grant mission to serve the state of Vermont. President Garimella.
Thanks, Amir, and thank you, Sherwood, and thanks to all of you for being here. It truly does feel more bright and fun and warm this time than even last time. I feel like we're finally sort of leaving COVID behind, most of us, and I think we continue to be careful, but it's just really nice to get together. And I thought the music was wonderful as we started off, and whenever Wanda's around, I feel like everything is in order. So I just want to welcome all of you, all of our students, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, and our community members. I understand there are folks that are joining us virtually as well, so to them, a warm welcome. I know some couldn't be here, but wanted to be part of this. So this is a significant part of the UVM weekend. We've all been participating in a lot of events that have brought people together and emphasized the importance of family and community. And I think it's almost an anchor for that weekend here, this Andrew Harris Commons, the breakfast we do and the brunch and the reception. So it gives us an opportunity, of course, to reflect on the life and legacy of this pioneer at UVM, the first African-American student to graduate from UVM. And as you all know far better than I do, he was a passionate abolitionist and a pastor who leaned in to fight racism in the mid-19th century at a time when it wasn't easy, right? And so he's just brought great, I guess, a legacy. He leaves a big legacy here, and so we remember him. We have a commons that's named for him, and we should keep his legacy in mind. And this is a special day, as you heard from Amer and from your programs, that because we are here to reflect also on the contributions of Dr. H. Lawrence McCrory. Dr. McCrory was a longtime UVM faculty member, an administrator, and an active member of the greater Burlington community. I've come to understand, I did not know him personally, but I've come to understand that he was among our strongest and early advocates of equity and equality across campus, and a force against racism wherever he went. Larry, thank you. I believe everyone called him Larry, so Larry, as he was affectionately known, joined the UVM community in 1966 in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics. As one of just 2 Black faculty members on campus, he became a beloved and respected professor and won university teaching awards and such. Eventually, he became dean of the Allied Health Sciences, what we now call the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, and of course, Noma Anderson is here as the current dean. I understand that Larry was a talented jazz musician, something which I think is extra special, and he played the saxophone and the vibraphone and such. And I believe the jazz band today is playing music that he liked, just as we're eating food that he liked. So just really think this is a wonderful organization, how you brought it all together. Larry was a powerful educator about race and racism, and spoke on this on our campus, across the state, across the nation, and beyond. He was an advisor to 3 Vermont governors and a charter member of the state's Human Rights Commission. Larry was a champion, of course, of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging. You'll hear the many ways his extraordinary work connects to the legacy of Andrew Harris. There is actually a continuum of these pioneers and advocates at UVM, and we proudly celebrate their role in our university history. We amplify today how essential their efforts were in shaping our campus, how such work continues, and how their legacy is critical to our continued growth as a university and as a community. I, for one, very much look forward to hearing more about Larry from those who knew him well. Thank you very much for joining us.
As we pursue the theme of Larry's legacy, we are fortunate that we have a provost who also is part of that legacy as the former dean of our College of Nursing and Health Science. Patty Prelock is a provost and senior vice president at University of Vermont currently. She was the former dean of College of Nursing and Health Science for 10 years, and is professor of communication science and disorders and a professor of pediatrics in the College of Medicine at University of Vermont. Patty.
Thank you, Amir, and it's so wonderful to see everyone here. Virginia, Leslie, thank you for wanting me to be here. It's been so wonderful getting to know Larry through you. So as Amir said, that although I'm in my current role as provost, I was dean of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences for 10 years. Unfortunately, I didn't have the privilege of knowing Larry personally, but I feel like I got to know him just because the moment I walked in, everyone said, "Did you know Larry McCrory? Did you know this? This is what he did." And I'm thinking, I have something really to live up to. You know, when I arrived in communication sciences and disorders, I was in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I was doing research in the Center for Disability and Community Inclusion. And Larry actually just retired the year that I came to UVM. And then when I became the Dean of Nursing and Health Sciences some 15 years later, it was just when he had passed. But I walked in the doors, and there was just this incredible fond memories of him. I heard that he was a man of many interests and talents, and he had two great passions. President Garamella shared those, music and teaching, but he really described himself first and foremost as an educator. As Suresh mentioned, he was a professor of physiology and biophysics who loved to teach biostatistics and physiology, and he had a particular interest in the function of the kidney. But most importantly, he was an educator about race, racism, and anti-racism. And he believed that racism was a construct that was taught, and that what could be learned could be unlearned. He believed that racial attitudes and behaviors were as detrimental to the perpetrator as to the victims. So he spent a great deal of time going to schools, other educational institutions, working with police departments, politicians, and others in the community, most of whom were white or were led by white leaders, to help them understand issues around race and racism. And he did it with such poise and grace and thoughtfulness. He was really committed to challenging and changing racist practices in our community and in surrounding communities and in the state. He was really at the forefront of these important discussions, and we are fortunate benefactors of his courage, his grace, his charisma, his strength, his intellect, and his kindness. Dean McCrory was beloved by his students and admired by his colleagues. His love of teaching, his musical talent, and his commitment to social justice truly made him a Renaissance man. Thank you, Leslie and Jenny, for sharing so many things about Larry.
Thank you, Provost Prelock. I'm going to continue this theme of legacy, and this one is more personal. Our next speaker, Dr. Wanda Hedding Grant, I am a direct recipient of her legacy. She is my only predecessor as Senior Diversity Officer of this great university. She is currently the inaugural Vice Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Carnegie Mellon University and Chief Diversity Officer, and faculty in the Hines College of Information Systems and Public Policy. Previously here at University of Vermont, she served as Vice President for Human Resources, Diversity, and Multicultural Affairs, and as the Chief Diversity Officer, and Associate Provost, Associate Dean, and Executive Director. Dr. Wanda Hedding Grant.
Oh, I need some music. I really do. And I don't care what that paper say down there. They told me I have 5 minutes. It says 2 or 3. Quit playing, y'all. Y'all know I'm talking about Larry. So I am so happy to be here. You have to know I took 2 planes to come here because I was asked by those 2 women there. Thank you so much for thinking of me and wanting to honor. So appreciate it. The other thing I would say, I will try my best if I know she's in the room to not ever acknowledge someone I love dearly who's made a profound impact in my life and was my first teacher here at UVM, and that's Mary Jane Dickerson. Imagine having Mary Jane, inner city kid from Trenton, New Jersey, coming here, and she loved on me, and I am so grateful. So it's great to be among friends and family. It's so great to be here. I thought about who I would name and what I would say, and then I said, it's not about them and nor it's not about me. But I have to tell you, it feels so good to see the continuation of the Andrew Harris legacy. And it was so good to see, I had to put my glasses back on, my partner in crime, Tom Sullivan, who had a vision around what he could see that lay of the land looking like. Thank you, Tom. And then to come back and see, well, even after Suresh Garamella, the president, Suresh Garamella came on, and to know that he was going to be a part of seeing that this continued, it meant so much to me. And I know it means a lot to a lot of folks, but this is part, I'm not ashamed to say, my legacy of being here. And I'm so glad. This just makes me so, so happy. So I probably took 1 minute saying that. As I reflect on what I would share, I thought about what it would be like if Andrew Harris and Dr. Larry H. McCory had a chance to sit in a room together to talk and school us all. Then the spirit part of me says, who's to say they aren't already talking? And that they are the original orchestrators of us coming together right here, right now, at this time. Larry, as I knew him, was one of the cool kids, one of the cool older kids I wanted to hang out with. I loved the way he walked, spoke, and thought. I enjoyed watching him and several others swap stories about how to challenge discriminatory structures, foods they ate, jazz, the various Black neighborhoods they grew up in, and to feel the joy in my body radiating. Like, I loved it to be in his and their presence. Some of you are in this room and you know who you are. Like I said, he was one of the cool kids. My time, a bag of chips and a grape soda. He was a giant among other intellectual giants, but the difference was he was our giant here at UVM, up close and personal. He was Black and he was beautiful. He was a pioneer for racial equality, inclusion, and justice, and in many ways, he still is. His legacy lives on through his character, his reputation, and the life he led, and of course, his children and grandchildren, setting an example for others to guide their futures. Let me share 2 quick stories. Story 1, many years ago, my dear friends, John Tucker, Kathy Manning, and I, along with Larry, used to do anti-racism trainings. We did it for the Peace and Justice Center in Burlington. We were facilitators. We had numerous trainings all across the city of Burlington and nonprofits. John, who oversaw the project, asked Larry to join me. We always did them in pairs, and Kathy was my normal partner, my usual partner, but she was ill that day. During the session, Larry attempted to educate a white male who was having some trouble understanding, processing the information. You see, this participant worked overtime to misunderstand. So after Larry gave some award-winning remarks, you know how he could be if you knew him, the participant's response was, yeah, but. Larry removed his glasses very quickly and motioned as if he was going to say something back, caught himself and pivot to turn back to the presenter's table with his head down, clearly frustrated. And he said, he's all yours, Wanda. I stepped up, made some comments, laced with the social worker in me, the Black woman in me, and ended with, you must now allow others to speak. Remember our group agreements. And then I said, I encourage you to keep processing and ask your colleagues why. How about you ask your supervisor why you're having trouble understanding and processing? Larry swung his glasses off his eyes again, stood up, looked at me, and said, damn, you're gonna be all right, girl, you're gonna be all right. I felt like I had joined the cool kid club at that moment. Second story. I'm not sure if it was the 70th birthday party, 75th. Somebody might tell me it's the 72nd or 3rd, but I won't swear to it. My friend Yolanda Some of you knew Yolanda Jordan. Talked me into taking my husband's blue convertible Audi, whatever it's called, which I did not like very much because it was small and I was scared I was going to be the one that would put a dent in it. And so I avoided the car greatly. However, it was a relatively new car, and it was right up Yolanda Jordan's alley, if you know Yolanda. She thought, Larry throws great parties, everybody will be there, this will like double down on our cuteness. We drive up in this convertible. We pulled up to the party, saw a prime spot, could not believe it. Pulled up to his home in the islands. That should have been my first warning. I pulled in halfway, the car wouldn't move anymore, we were stuck in the mud. We couldn't even step out of the car without getting muddy, and the back of the car was sticking out, blocking some of the other cars. Every time someone came by, they would look they would look at us and say, "I think you have a problem," or something like that. Very embarrassed, I would say, "Yes, we know. Can you let Larry know Wanda's out here and needs some help?" About 10 minutes later, with the top down, no longer feeling as cute, and slightly mad at Yolanda because I thought my big SUV would have likely just been able to move out of that mud right away, but she had to have the convertible. So here comes Larry with his truck, and here comes a few others to help. He said, "You know I had to stop my set for you." I am thinking, well, Yolanda got me in this mess. If she just only put away not making an entrance. Larry comes out shaking his head and says, "Damn, all I'm doing is pulling cars out of mud today at my party." He pulls out and says, "That's a nice car. I'd like to see what you're going to explain to your guy." And then someone said, "Well, you know this is the third car Larry's had to pull out of that same spot today. See those cars over there? They're parked where you should have parked." And I said, "Oh, be quiet." And when we finally walked into the gathering, past all the mud, there was Larry back jamming with the band on his horn, and all was good. Dr. Larry McCoy was an advocate and activist, but what stands out to me is that he was an educator. That's right, Patty. He ignited my learning for agitating, disrupting unequitable structures. James Baldwin said, "The paradox of education is precisely this. As one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which one is being educated." Part of me knowing better and doing better was due to Larry's teaching that came in so many forms, coaching and mentoring. His praise of me and the things I did here only encouraged more innovation for me. He led and taught so much that everyone could learn from him and the way that he taught. He understood that education is the practice of freedom. He understood what it meant to have an infinite mindset, which looked beyond the moment, but to the future for a better world, not just for us, but for each other, but for those who have not yet come. He could see the future. He gave so much to UVM, the community inside it and outside of it. We are fortunate and blessed that he made a stop here on his journey in life. For this is for the unforgettable, the unafraid, and the undefeated, the ones who survived by any means necessary, and the ones who didn't. This is for the undeniable, this is for the unflappable, the audacious, this is for the unlimited, the unstoppable, undiscovered, unbending, the underdogs, the dreamers, and the doers. Thank you, Dr. Larry McCoy. I'm so glad you've been a part of my life.
Now y'all see why I'm so thankful to have Dr. Wanda Hedding Grant as my predecessor, and we are so thankful that she is still so invested in this university and in the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dr. Hedding Grant. I can't say it enough, what it means for you to be here and to share your experience with Dr. McCrory's legacy. I may have mentioned it earlier, but this is really the launch of the endowment, right? And so we are honoring Dr. McCrory's legacy. First of all, starting from his family's commitment to ensuring that his passions, his commitments endure, but also to invite all who loved and were invested in that legacy to contribute as well. And as part of that legacy going forward for the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, we are proud to announce the inaugural Dr. H. Lawrence McCrory Award for Inclusive Excellence. This award will be provided at this event each year to a UVM faculty or staff member of color who demonstrates a commitment to inclusive excellence for those from underrepresented and marginalized backgrounds, whose work shows a lasting legacy of effort towards equity, justice, and inclusion. And I am very proud to present this award to Beverly Belisle. Bev, as she's affectionately called, has served as the director of the Mosaic Center for Students of Color here at UVM for 19 years. She facilitates the center's mission to enable the holistic success of students of color in a predominantly white educational setting. Belisle directs a staff of professionals who are devoted to developing culturally sensitive, equitable, and empowering practices that benefit the students of color in our community. Unfortunately, Bev was not able to be here this weekend. She's actually officiating the wedding of a former student. So that is the only reason why she's not here. Before we play her video that she recorded to thank us for this award, I do want the staff from the Mosaic Center for Students of Color that are here to stand. They are one small piece of a much broader and bigger legacy, and I'm honored to even know Bev, quite honestly. I think we're ready to play her video.
Hi friends, Beth Colston here. I wish with all my heart that I could be with you on this day when we honor our UVM BIPOC legacy. It is such an honor for me. Thank you so much to be rewarded or given this award in honor of Larry McCrory, whom I had the pleasure of knowing and who has certainly inspired what I do here at UVM and the way that I show up in Vermont. So Larry, to be in anything in his legacy is just fabulous and fantastic. I thank you for just thinking of me, and for me, it's just been a wonder and an honor to be part of the team here at UVM. That's meant everything. It's good to be in this work with you, and even when we face struggles, it has felt fabulous to just know that we're still lifting this load together and doing everything that we can to make sure that every student and every UVM community member knows that they belong here and that they are treasured. And I'm just grateful to you for feeling that I deserve this honor, and I hope I continue to live up to it for all of you and with you. So thank you, friends, and enjoy the rest of this wonderful occasion.
Next to the stage is Larry's friend, Paul Asbell.
Thank you. It's wonderful seeing so many people here and so many familiar faces. I've been asked to say a couple of remarks. That's sort of from a different point of view, because I didn't know Larry from a UVM point of view. I knew him from a very different one. Thank you. When I moved from the south side of Chicago to North Duxbury, Vermont in 1971, I assumed I'd be swapping my former musical career there for a new life, one consisting of odd carpentry gigs, building furniture, and attempting to live off the land through my pathetic attempts at organic gardening. However, I soon fell in with a number of fellow urban expatriates here and slowly began to realize that the music I thought I was leaving behind in Chicago could be found in various nooks and crannies of my newly adopted home here in Vermont. One of those fellow expats was a guy who played tenor saxophone, whose name was Larry McCrory. A pianist friend had taken me to a jazz jam session held at Larry's house, and I recall being delighted to find a familiar musical language coming from the bell of Larry's horn, a language which seemed to me so redolent and evocative of the urban world that I knew to be its birthplace. Much later, I found out that Larry had grown up just a few blocks away in the very same South Side neighborhood that I had. I remember mentioning Larry's name to various people who seemed to recognize him, except the Larry these people knew was apparently a dean of some medical school at the University of Vermont. I assumed there must be another Larry McCrory in the area, because even though the name was not a common one, the Larry I knew was a streetwise jazz saxophone player. How could that same guy also be a button-down academic bureaucrat at UVM? Much later, I found that these two Larrys were in fact the same person. I suspect I was not the first nor the last person to be dumbstruck by the remarkable code switching that Dr. Lawrence McCrory seemed to pull off so effortlessly throughout his life. Larry truly was a man for all seasons. I was just talking with my friend Alex Stewart, who is the head of the Jazz Studies Department here, where we all are employed. And Alex pointed out that 20 years or so ago, he was putting together a concert that was originally a tribute to Ella Fitzgerald that featured Duke Ellington in that capacity. And Alex was faced with a difficult thing of thinking, how am I going to get somebody not only to play, but also to represent the dignity and the elegance that was Duke Ellington? And then all of a sudden, he had an insight. Larry McCrory, of course, was the perfect person. I'm extremely grateful for having spent so much time with Larry and for having shared several of those seasons with him. I think of him often, especially when I reflect on the many facets, nooks, and crannies of a well-lived, well-rounded life.
My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. This is an amazing day. And before I even begin my comments, I do want to say that my father would have been so happy to see us all paying tribute to him, looking at his picture all around the room, and just basically celebrating him. That's who my dad was. In addition to all the other wonderful things he was, he loved to be part of a celebration. On behalf of my family, Desiree, Lauren, Larry, the fourth, Ellington, Rick, Pat, Virginia, and Yvonne, we thank those of you who are here with us today and online, and those who could not make it, for being part of my father's work, his life, and this celebration to honor him. This Andrew Harris Legacy Reception is a fitting celebration for our father's contributions. We thank you. Special thanks go to Vice President Amir Ahmed, Sandy, oh my gosh, Sandy, please. Sherwood, Paul, and the entire team at UVM's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. They have been absolutely phenomenal. I also want to thank Nate Stevens and his entire Sodexo team, who actually welcomed me into their 3,000 square foot kitchen, which I'm incredibly jealous over. But I walked in the kitchen to help do some of the prep over the last few days, and it was just amazing what a wonderful spirit and what a wonderful and just welcoming experience it was for me. So thank you very much, Nate, and your entire Sodexo team. Thank you. In addition to working out the details of the menu, we also worked with Chef Mark Anthony. Some of you may know him. He does pop-ups in around Burlington, and he's a wonderfully trained chef. He actually works with the Clemens Family Farm Group as well. And so he helped some of the process here. But I want to especially call out UVM students Anthony Hilton and Javier Matos Rodriguez from Soul Brew. Please, again, thank them for the incredible food they put together for us today. Everyone came together to make this program possible. So again, thank you also for the kind words and tributes from Dr. Wanda Heading Grant. I'm not sure where you went, but she was just so very close to my father, and he loved her dearly. And so it's wonderful that she was able to take the time to come out here and be with us today. Also, President Garamella, thank you so much. Provost Prelock, thank you for your words and for your support. Paul, and all the wonderful musicians that are here today, who worked with my dad, played with my dad, loved my dad, and the feeling was absolutely mutual. Thank you so much. And a very special thanks as well to Mary Jane Dickerson, who has been just an incredible inspiration to me. When I went back to school, she also took me under her wing and made me a better person and a better student, a much better student. Thank you, Mary Jane. You had such a special place in my father's heart, and I know it's very mutual. And congratulations to the first H. Lawrence McCrory Inclusive Excellence winner, Bev Belisle. I don't think we can do her justice for the work that she's done for the students. I know as a former admissions counselor how important it is to reach out to students and continually work with them to make sure that this is a welcoming environment when it very often is not, and how important it is to help them get through that process. So I know that her work has been very, very, very well received, and she's worked very hard to make sure students feel very comfortable and has turned that center into a loving, welcoming place. So I think we need to just give her another round of applause, please. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge Dean of Libraries, Bryn Geffert, for his continued work in helping us to maintain the gallery, UVM's foundation, Ali Lambert and Kevin, Mara Saul, who for many years maintained the library collection for my father's gallery, and then Connie Gallagher, Jeff Marshall, and many more that have continued to hold space for this project, even when Virginia and I struggled to move it forward. We cannot thank you enough. In 1966, my father, H. Lawrence McCrory, gathered his wife Connie and children and followed his graduate advisor, Dr. Norman Alpert, from Chicago to Burlington to set up teaching for the physiology department at UVM. He continued research in muscle physiology and taught extensively, his love being renal physiology. He created a new graduate course in medical biostatistics, and he taught for 28 years, winning many awards. As one of only 2 Black faculty members in the medical school, he began a lifelong friendship with Dr. Jackson Clemens. Dr. Clemens could not be with us today, but we do have Lydia Clemens here, Dr. Lydia Clemens, his daughter, here with us today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I want to acknowledge Jack and Lydia Clemens Sr., who celebrated their 99th birthdays this year. His family and the Clemens Family Farm for their continued contributions to Vermont and to a shared multicultural and inclusive vision for Vermont. Soon after arriving at UVM, a colleague invited my dad to attend a cakewalk. My father, quite disturbed, began to speak out about the inherent racism in this long-standing UVM practice and the many examples of racism he witnessed. Though he received death threats, it did not deter him or the allies that worked beside him. He went on to deliver hundreds of speeches over the next 3 decades, always available to talk to a class, a school, college, police academy, organization, the press, and attend rallies. He accepted any opportunity to use the teachable moment and challenged others to do the same. This would take him far from the kidney, as he was known to say, and would transform his life on campus, Vermont, and beyond. He believed that when a university teaches the birthplace of civilization and the centers of culture are Greece and Rome, while ignoring Egypt and Ethiopia, they define away a whole people. When an educational institution defines music in its highest form as European classical music and relegates jazz to a non-serious category, it defines away a whole people. When an English department offers a course in American literature and omits the Harlem Renaissance, one of the most prolific periods in history, it defines away a whole people. He understood that the damaging effects of this type of institutional racism rooted in our educational system not only affect children of color, but that white children are equally scarred by a system that denies some educational equity while relegating others to a higher status, resulting in an ignorance of other people, a distorted self-image, a sort of moral schizophrenia, and an inability to affect true relationships with people of color. And yes, he said race does not cause racism. Racism produces race. He believed that race was learned so it could be unlearned or never taught in the first place. And when I asked him how he remained hopeful after years of working side by side with allies to make social change against enormous obstacles and painfully slow progress, he would say, "One cannot be a teacher without believing that people are capable of change." In 1995, the H. Lawrence McCrory Gallery of Multicultural Art was created and set up in the study area of the Howe Library. Here, the gallery provides a focus within the university for the expression and exploration of themes of racism, social justice, and so serves as a central place where people of color can see themselves reflected in the art. In a tribute to my father's profound impact on the UVM culture, Rebecca Martin, UVM Dean of Libraries at the time, wrote, "Larry McCrory's presence on the University of Vermont campus for the past 3 decades has touched many lives at UVM and shaped the life of the institution itself." My father passed in 2009, leaving a legacy of personal and professional commitment to make UVM, our communities, and Vermont a better place for all of us to live, to dream, and to thrive. If he were here today, how would he reconcile the setbacks of our recent past? The pandemic laid bare our social disparities. As we began to dig out, the phrase on everyone's lips was a return to normalcy, as if that was something to which we should aspire. Normal should not be good enough for any of us. Not for the Black and brown women and children who have lost their lives to systemic racism and police brutality. Not for the 1 in 5 people who face food insecurity in Vermont pre-COVID. Not for Vermont's women and BIPOC who continue to face income disparity. Nor for Vermont's children who live under the poverty level. And let's not even go there with the Supreme Court's latest atrocity. Not for any of us. Normal isn't it, folks. We can do much, much better. Today, we ask you to pick up the baton and continue to create the kind of Vermont that lives up to its potential, a welcoming place where opportunities exist for all people. With the help of the UVM Foundation and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Virginia Hood and the whole McCrory family established the H. Lawrence McCrory Endowment to create a perpetual legacy to my father at the University of Vermont. The purpose of this fund is to honor his distinguished career at the University of Vermont and to carry on his vision. His leadership in the promotion of educational excellence, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and strategies for combating racism were rooted in a profound belief that UVM could be a model institution for these efforts. The fund will support activities and themes included but not limited to campus events initiated by faculty, students, or staff associated with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the Howe Library, the Larner College of Medicine, and the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. The fund will be administered by the Vice Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion within the Office of the Provost. The ball is in our court. We must take up this challenge to create the future, not merely inherit it. Thank you.
I didn't mean to make such a clump. I'm getting shorter as the years go by. Not tell you how much it means to me to be with a gathering of so many people I love. It's just, I'm glad I've lived long enough to have such an experience at this institution that I love. Probably Larry McCrory is the person, other than my parents in North Carolina, who is most responsible for my life's work on the campus, in the area, and in the classroom. Whenever I was feeling low, maybe the English department wasn't as excited about the courses I wanted to teach as I was. He would take me to lunch sometimes just to encourage me to keep on doing. And I am so grateful for that friendship of so many years and that encouragement and having somebody who believed in what I was trying to do. And we worked together in the summer enrichment program and so many other ways. I wrote this poem for his 80th birthday. As I was reading it at his home in Grand Isle, I'm elderly too, two elderly musicians walked slowly up the driveway with their instruments, carrying their instruments to join the musicians who were playing for us that day. And it was truly a celebration of Larry. This poem begins with an epitaph from a poem by Michael Harper. Dear John, dear Coltrane. And you'll notice interwoven in the poem are lines. I plagiarized terribly, but I picked lines from, I said, with the help of words from Hayden Carruth, Michael S. Harper, John Coltrane, Martin Luther King Jr., James Baldwin, Gwendolyn Brooks, Spike Lee, and Robert Hayden. Celebrating Dr. Jazz. Improvising for Larry McCrory at 80. A love supreme, a love supreme. What does it all mean? You pick up the horn with some will, and blow into the freezing night. A love supreme, a love supreme. It took a September 1966 move from a familiar and gentle southern landscape to Vermont's northerly peaks and valleys to bring me home to what I missed, to let me know what I missed, even more than the intimate culture of family and place, to let me know what I missed most from the pulse and rhythm of everyday life. That daily presence of African Americans, Black people whose names, the cadence and timbre of their voices still reverberate in memory, whose faces appeared everywhere across my homescape and theirs, deep in rural North Carolina. Maybe the cold and coming snows, the prospect of all that frozen whiteness as far as the eye could see, shaped that sense of being out of place. And were it not for the McCrorys down the street, Larry lean and lanky, a man always in motion, Connie's comforting soft figure and ready laugh, their children riding tricycles, their voices joining others along the sidewalks, I would have felt even more like a stranger in an even stranger land. Soon, all too soon, came that early April night, the night the king died, erasing hope, releasing tides of bitter despair across the land. On the university radio station, you, Larry McCrory, during the daylight hours, professor of molecular physiology and biophysics, make music out of that. In the nighttime, jazz man, supreme, saxophone player, you on that night turned your weekly jazz of patter and spinning discs into a night of mourning, making words for the morning time through the sounds of that essential American music played by the Duke, Bird, Dizzy, Louis Armstrong, and Sidney Bechet, Mingus, Monk, Lady Day, Kind of Blue Mile, and John Coltrane with his sheets of sound. A love supreme as the Psalter, the song of a loss profound. How many of us stayed with you that long night, radios close, releasing our own tears, trying to hold on to some piece of Reverend Martin Luther King's dream? How many lives did your words and sounds lift up to join the daily labor it continues to take to realize our precious, always precarious democracy by attending to those sacred texts evoked over and over again by King? From the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Gettysburg Address, to the Emancipation Proclamation, and always the prophetic biblical passages. We must all learn to live together, or we will be forced to die together. That long night of pain, with its give and take among horns, drums, and voices, with your words setting up their own call and response, an improvisational interplay of music, of blood flow, and a grief inchoate, all that words alone cannot speak, unleashed on city streets throughout the land. Was it during that long night of the soul, with us desperate for the passion and solace of your words, to fill the emptiness left by the slaying of the king, excuse me, that you turned life itself into the art of improvisation in response to UVM's cakewalk and other dissonant notes played across Vermont's pastoral landscape. By keeping your own heart free of hatred and despair, and by staying alive, sometimes a voice in the wilderness, blowing your horn with Big Joe Burrell and his blues band, the music necessary to the message, you became our Martin, our Malcolm, a voice in this wilderness of whiteness, helping us join the interracial drama, helping us learn how to break the bondage of our histories. A love supreme, a love supreme. What does it all mean? We are still killing people to save, to free them, in streets running blood throughout Iraq, Afghanistan. We are still turning deaf ears to the cries of our brothers and sisters in the Sudan, the Congo, and all the earth's places where children starve to death each day. We must learn to live together, or we will be forced to die together. You, Dr. Jazz, you man, you real cool. You Jazz June, but don't die soon. Old age ain't for sissies. You know, sissy, you do the right thing. Year after year, you make us pay attention to our lives, listen to the mysteries and wonders, the promise of a love supreme. All that beauty buried in the fleeting rhythms, drumming in the downbeat of the human heart. You implore us to vision a world where none is lonely, none hunted, alien, where no child goes hungry, fleshing your dream of the beautiful, needful thing. What it all means. A love supreme, a love supreme. Thank you.
Wow. After such an amazing program today, I deeply feel the weight of responsibility that our division carries to advance Dr. McCrory's legacy. Leslie, Dr. Hood, thank you so much for your ongoing commitment. We feel that responsibility, we carry that responsibility. I want everyone here to know that as part of that responsibility, our division is engaged in working with every part of the university to develop our first data-driven DEI strategic plan that every part of the university will be submitting this December or January for our next 5 years. So we're going to show our work around how we're going to advance Dr. McCrory's legacy going forward. And we will, and this endowment will be part of supporting those efforts, because part of that work is around identifying where are our needs, where are our responsibilities, where do we need to put resources in order to be able to advance that important legacy. So I want to thank you all for being here. There is a memory book that is by the entrance. We really want you to encourage you to contribute towards that memory book before you leave. Thank you all for being here, and the band will play us out, and you're welcome to continue to partake and socialize. Thank you so much, everyone.
Lovely. We done. Very nice, everybody. Yeah. That was the right thing. Right. I was thinking the same thing. What can we do that follows that poem? Real nice, everybody. Thank you for all of the stuff that led up to it. Jared, who's strong, Jared, Jared, you need, all it needs is backwards. I don't need it. Yeah, right. That would work. It's it. Jared, yeah, Paul, that can be.